The Louie T Network is powered by MusicHead University. MusicHeads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
Who else could it be but me, your man, Louie T? Welcome to the Command Post live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. This will also serve as the skill game for the Sunday night game. Of course, the Commanders will be taking on the Seattle Seahawks. So we'll get to the skill game brought to you by Sleeper a little bit later on in the show. But I wanted to start by talking about something that piqued my interest the other day. So I remember about probably 5 days ago, I think it was Monday, probably Tuesday, rather, the day after the Kansas City game. Obviously, Terry got hurt, and DQ didn't give us anything. So it was Wednesday. That's the day it was. His first real press conference, because we knew we weren't going to get any updates on any injuries after the game. He always likes to wait till Wednesday. They know what happened. They know what the situation is, but they really don't want to speak about it until they have to. So Wednesday came, and he gave us the news about Terry, that he re-aggravated the quad injury, that he was going to be out on Sunday night. And one of the questions that DQ had to field after that was, were the Commanders interested in maybe going out and seeing if there was someone out there outside of the building that they would like to bring in to see if they could help? And DQ shut that down immediately and was like, no, we're going to roll with what we got. We like some of the guys that we have in the building. And I just said that, they brought back Robbie Chosen, and I'm like that. Debo has to be Debo. Ultimately, that's what's going to help us win this game on Sunday night, is that Debo is back to being Debo. Jaden is back, and we can somehow get some semblance of a run game or even a short pass game that acts as a run game, whatever that looks like, and get this offense jump started is going to be the catalyst that drives this victory if we are to win on Sunday night. The defense, you can't ask them of too much. If they help, great. If they don't, it's to be expected. But this is going to be an offensive game if we were to win. That said, I ran into an interesting tweet yesterday from John Keim, and he did some of this on his show. I haven't actually listened to this episode, so some of you might have already listened to this, and none of this may be of any interest to you. It caught me off guard a little bit because no one was asking about Treylon Burks, but I'll tell you something. I had a conversation with Candy. We were talking off the stream, and she brought up Treylon Burks unprovoked. And she said he's a really nice kid and he works extremely hard. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Working hard doesn't mean you're a good football player. It just means that you're willing to put in the work and do the things necessary to maximize the talent that you've been blessed with. And look, I may sit here and tell you that I'm not a Treylon Burks fan, and I've told you that numerous times. I don't think he's very good. However, there's no doubt that he's talented. You don't get drafted in the first round of the NFL draft without talent. Now, I may not think that that talent is ever going to manifest itself, and that's where I stand, right? Between his inability to stay healthy and his inability to actually take the talent that he's been given and make it into something tangible that can help a team in the NFL consistently is another matter. But the talent is obviously there, okay? He shined in the SEC, and he got drafted in the first round of the NFL draft. Like, he can play football. He has the talent to do it. It's just, can he consistently be what you need him to be? And that is up to a staff to figure out how he is best utilized and get that out of him consistently. I don't know if this is the staff or if that'll ever happen. But that said, she was like, he works extremely hard. He's a good dude, and they really like him in that building. And I was like, okay, I just stashed it away, like, whatever, didn't really register with me at the time. Then this just popped up on my screen, somehow, some way. I wasn't looking for this. I don't even know how this ended up on my screen because I hadn't been on social media basically the whole day. And this, I think all of the social media notifications had just piled up, and this one was at the top. And I went to just swipe left on them and get them out of there. And this was the last one. And you always see the last one first. And, you know, I saw a tweet from Com. Usually it ain't nothing. Com ain't talking about nothing. So I usually just swipe it. But I swiped down and I saw the rest of it. And I read it and I was like, huh, interesting. And this is the tweet from Com yesterday that piqued my interest. It says, pass game coordinator Brian Johnson said wide receiver Trey Burks had a really, quote, really, really good practice, close quote, on Thursday. Quote, and this is Brian Johnson once again, quote, he'll definitely be a guy that can help us. You see the talent, you see the ball skills, close quote. Said Burks's note-taking was, quote, as impressive as I've ever seen in drawing plays, closed quote. So these are all attention to detail, talent-based skills that this team is lacking right now. We're lacking the attention to detail. We're lacking in just raw talent that's young on this football team. I think that's why a lot of people are excited about Treylon Burks, is because he's 25 years old. He is, or 24, I think he's 25, and which is really young for a guy that's been in the league, what, 3-4 years now, whatever that length of time is. He was involved in the A.J. Brown trade that netted the Eagles A.J. Brown. So A.J. Brown's been in Philadelphia, what, 3 years now? This is year 4 for him, I believe. He came over after Jalen Hurts' first full season as a starter, which was 2021. So 22 was A.J. Brown's first year in Philadelphia. So 22, 23, 20. So this is, year 4 of A.J. Brown. So Treylon Burks has been in the NFL roughly 4 years. He's only 25 years old, so he's still extremely young. So much talent hasn't been tapped into, so much untapped potential. And you're hearing really good things. This is the third person that, again, I don't know if Kyle might have specifically asked Brian Johnson about Treylon Burks, but I've had 2 people unsolicited tell me about Treylon Burks. I'm not asking about Treylon Burks. Okay, I could care less about Treylon Burks. But I've had 2 separate people tell me that this guy's really talented and he's working extremely hard and he's smart and he gets it. And then I see this from Brian Johnson, and you're referencing having a really, really good practice on Thursday as if you're trying to foreshadow something coming up this Sunday. Now, this is, the main reason why I wanted to come here, aside from the skill game, which we're going to get to here in a second, is we're in a season right now, this team is, where they're trying just about anything. Okay, we saw them infuse the defense with more talent that's younger, faster, more athletic, with Tyler Owens and Jordan McGee. And they vow to get Kane Madrano in there at some point. I'm not going to hold my breath on that, but that's another option if they look to explore that down the road. Could they be in the same season offensively? Obviously, the defensive ones are by choice. You're really struggling on that side of football. You're looking for a spark. On the offensive side, it may be more by force. Now, you could easily just stick with veterans like Robbie Chosen and Chris Moore and go about your business that way, and no one would bat an eye. These are the guys that have gotten opportunities in the face of adversity at the receiver position and all these injuries. Terry is now out again. So Chris Moore is up regardless, right? Well, not up. He's on the roster. So Chris Moore is on the field, whether you like it or not. Debo's going to be out there. Jalen Lane is out there and Luke McCaffrey's out there, right? So you got 4 receivers right there in Debo, Chris Moore, Jalen Lane, and Luke McCaffrey. Robbie Chosen right now feels like the 5th guy that they're going to roll with, and that's that, right? There's no need. We don't have enough depth at the receiver position to have 6 receivers up. It's just it's not necessary at this point. So I don't see them having an additional receiver up. It's 5. And if you're comfortable with Robbie Chosen, you're just going to go with him. But what if, fresh off of a really, really good practice on Thursday, what if Treylon Burks is gearing up for his first action as a Commander on Sunday night? What if his debut is on Sunday Night Football? Be a hell of a time for it. I'm not opposed to it. Again, I want to be wrong here. I'm not a Treylon Burks fan. Prove me wrong. Make me wrong. I want to be wrong. I don't want to be right here. I want some more young talent on this roster. I just don't think it's going to manifest into anything. One, he can't stay healthy. And in a season where health has been at a premium for this team, he struggles with that. And 2, he's a guy that is very limited in what you can ask him to do. But he's got a physical frame that we could use. We don't have any big receivers, really. So at 6'2", 220, he poses a threat that we just simply don't have. He's got strong hands. He's a physical guy, run after catch. He's not a tremendous athlete, but he finds ways to create just off of sheer physicality. If he could get his shit together, I could see him being like, everybody wants to compare him to A.J. Brown. He's not A.J. Brown. He's not A.J. Brown. But could he be a Cortland Sutton type? I damn sure could see that, right? I damn sure could see him being like a Cortland Sutton type of wide receiver. But again, he hasn't run a route tree in his life. Talking of Treylon Burks, he came into the league with no ability to run a route tree. That's not what they did with him at Arkansas. They put him on jet sweeps. They gave it to him out of the backfield. They threw him hitches, wide receiver screens, and go balls. That was his steady diet of offensive weaponry. That's all he presented coming into the NFL. It was a lot like De'Ami Brown, except De'Ami Brown really just ran slants, outs, and goals at University of North Carolina. He had to prove to people that he could actually run routes because he didn't do it in college. But it's to another level with Burks. He did nothing else other than he was an athlete that you got the ball in the hands of. So until I see something different, I'm just going to assume that it's the same thing. But hearing people talk about this kid and how quick of a study he is, how hard of a worker he is, how much talent, and I don't doubt the talent. That's the only thing that I got to be able to say and give him, credit for is he's super talented. He's super talented. They haven't said much about him since we brought him onto the practice squad. DQ said, and I quote, "We're really, really excited to work with this kid. We think he has a ton of talent." This is the first and really only thing DQ said about him when they first brought him on and DQ was asked about Treylon Burks. And this had to be every bit of 3 weeks to a month ago when they first signed him onto the practice squad. We haven't really heard much about him since, and for good reason, right? We got other pressing needs, other issues, and no one's thinking about Treylon Burks. But what if, fresh off of a week of practice, one in particular on Thursday, Thursday is always the biggest practice of the week. You're getting good on good. You're getting a lot of work in. Thursday is the day. And if you tell me he had a really, really good week or really, really good Thursday practice, which is the most important practice of the week, could that be foreshadowing that this guy may be active instead of Robbie Chosen on Sunday? We'll see. We should be getting that information sometime today, right? Normally you get information on a Sunday game on Saturday as to who they're pulling up and making active. I'm just going to assume it's Robbie Chosen. I'm just going to assume it's Robbie Chosen. Until otherwise notified, it's Robbie Chosen. He's been here. He's a veteran. He's played in the game already. I think they trust him more than they trust anyone of these other undrafted, guys that are on the practice squad, et cetera, they trust the 32-year-old veteran, and I think they're just going to roll with him. But it would be interesting to see if Treylon Burks were activated in this game and how they would be able to utilize him. That's something Seattle can't prepare for. Not here, at least. Give you another weapon. But anyway, I digress. I mean, that's where we are. That's the state of where this team is right now. That we're talking about Treylon Burks potentially getting an opportunity, one that I don't see coming, not yet at least. He will play for this team at some point this year. We will find out if there is any value in Treylon Burks moving forward. But right now, with your season on the line, I don't know if this staff is bold enough to trot Treylon Burks out there in the biggest game of their season to this point. It doesn't feel like a move that this staff would make. It feels like they would play it safe here and just go with Robbie Chosen. That's what I'm expecting. But we'll see, right? We'll see what they decide to do. Eventually, we'll see Treylon Burks this season. So, anyway, I digress. Let's get to the skill game. I think this is going to be a really interesting skill game here. Seahawks Commanders skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
The skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
All right. So, Sleeper is a fantasy sports and real money gaming app that focuses on bringing people together through sports and gaming. I've talked about how this has enriched my sports watching experience. This app gives you a lot of opportunities to make some extra cash on the side. One of the interesting things that I've learned through other people, and I'm not going to name any names of any other companies, but this Sleeper app is one of the few that if something happens to a player during the game or they don't play, it doesn't impact your ticket. As a matter of fact, it could be seen as a positive. I've heard people be like, never mind, let me not say that. I'll just tell you this. That's one of the best attributes of the Sleeper app is you put together a ticket and they're doing everything they can to make sure that that ticket is fair and that you're going to have the best chance to win. And shout out to Sleeper for sponsoring this stream and enhancing and enriching my sports watching experience. If you haven't already downloaded this app, got a couple of nice opportunities for you in the month. Well, we're in November now, right? So couple of nice opportunities for you. One, download the app. The link to that opportunity is in the description of this video. Click that link. It'll take you to where you can download the app. Once you've done that, verify you are who you say you are. Also, make sure Sleeper is available in your area. It's available in over 25 states in the US. All right. So once you've done all of that, then they will give you $20 for free. You don't have to deposit anything. You don't have to do anything. $20 into your account that you can use on the app. And you can't beat that. And as I'm about to show you, $10 on this app goes a long way. A long way. You can win a lot of money with just $10. So if you want to take advantage of an even better opportunity, use my promo code LTN to get you 100% deposit match on your first deposit up to $100. That's right. It's a dollar for dollar match all the way up to $100. I would just tell you, go ahead and throw $100 in there and let them match that. And that'll give you $200 total to use on the app. And then the $20 that they'll give you in addition to that, $220, that could last you the rest of the NFL season, to be honest with you. Right? If you're not out here, going reckless and crazy, $220 lasts you a very long time. Okay, on this app. You don't need a lot to win a lot, right? So with that said, let's get to the activities of the day. And that's this game here, Sunday Night Football. So we're going to click on NFL, and this app, as you will see here, very user-friendly, great interface, easy to use. So we're going to scroll all the way over till we get to the Sunday night game, which is here, Seattle, Washington. Click on that. And so now let's see what we can get done. So we're going to scroll up. These are the hot picks, the hot picks, the hot picks. All right. So Jackson Smith and Jigba for 93.5 yards is the deal that they're giving out for this particular game. You'd be foolish not to take it. For me as a Commanders fan, I'm just taking this off the strength of the happiness hedge. If he doesn't get 94 yards, that means something went really right for the Commanders in this game. Chances are, if we didn't screw the pooch, turning it over and doing a lot of foolishness, and we actually score the football, we probably won this game if he doesn't have more than 94 yards, which I will gladly take a win over the Seahawks, over a winning ticket, okay? Just so we're clear. Now, we get later into the season, our season's done, we're cooked. Give me the ticket over a win, right? But for now, our season's still alive and kicking, and I got hopium coursing through my veins. Oh, I most certainly would love a Commanders win over a ticket punched here on this app. But the happiness hedge is alive and well. He's going to have over 94 yards against this defense. When your defensive coordinator comes out and says, well, sometimes you're just going to be in some tough spots against Jackson Smith and Jigba, and guys are going to have to find a way to get it done in those tough situations. Translation, guys are going to be left one-on-one 45 yards down the field with this guy. Figure it out. That's a losing recipe if I've ever heard one. This guy's going to come away with 94 yards for sure in this game. So I'm going to go ahead and take that deal that they're giving out there. Let's see what else hot picks they have. So you've got Bill for 43 yards rushing. Don't love that. You got Jaden for 1.5 passing touchdowns. If we're going to have any chance of winning this game, Jaden is going to have to throw at least 2 touchdown passes. So I'm going to go ahead and take that. Sam Darnold, 243.5 yards passing. That almost feels like a layup for him in this game. Jackson Smith and Jigba by himself should have about $140. But just let's look at Sam, because we think about Sam Darnold and the success that they've had this season. And I get it. Every defense isn't our defense. Our defense gives it up at a much higher clip than most in the NFL. So I don't want to look at what he did against Arizona or New Orleans and say, well, shit, he didn't, or Houston. We know Houston's got one of the best defenses in football. And can't look at those defenses and say, well, he didn't crack 243 in those games. Why should he do it against us? Tampa Bay, he threw for 341, and Jacksonville, he threw for 295. Like, we're on par with those two defenses, and probably more so Jacksonville. And at least Jacksonville gets turnovers. We don't even do that. It just feels like there's no way he's not going to eclipse 243 yards, 244 yards passing. We'll come back to that. I may decide just to go to touchdown passes with him. I'll see what the multiplier is for Darnold on touchdown passes, because it feels like he's going to throw multiple touchdown passes against us in this game. I always say, if the Seahawks are playing, take Zach Charbonnet for a touchdown rushing, because when they get down there, they love to put him in the game, and he usually does not disappoint. So just off the strength of me knowing that Zach Charbonnet, and this may be the game he doesn't score, but just off the strength of knowing Zach Charbonnet is a guy that they love giving it to down there, I'm just going to assume he's going to get down there and he's going to score. McNichols on 16.5 receiving yards feels really good. But again, this could be the game where it doesn't happen, but feels like he's taken over the Austin Eckler role officially, and that he's going to catch it 2 or 3 times. Again, he was our leading receiver last game. Feels like he's going to get over 16.5 yards, but it's not a necessity to do that right now. We may come back to that. Anytime Jaden plays, it feels like Ertz has a chance to score a touchdown. So I'm going to go ahead and take Ertz on a touchdown. And I want an anytime Debo touchdown as well. Feel like he has to score in this game in order for us to have a chance too. So let's go to anytime. AJ Barner also feels like a guy that can score in this game, the tight end. That's another one that I feel like I should be taking in this game. He's another guy, AJ Barner. The two tight ends that I talk about all the time, Elijah Arroyo and AJ Barner, are the two tight ends that I really feel like can have a really big game against us. They scare me shitless. Let's go to pass touchdowns. Let me see if Darnold's. Let's see if they disrespected us like they did with Mahomes. Mahomes was set at 2.5 against us. See if Darnold set at 2.5 against us too. Most quarterbacks are at 1.5. Okay. So they didn't, and his multiplier isn't good enough to take it. It's not worth it at 1.56. Let's go to longest reception, longest rush, all that stuff, longest completion. Darnold's not even available. Jaden's longest completion at 33.5 yards, not touching that, especially with no Terry in the lineup. All right, so longest reception. Jackson Smith and Jigba's was 1.81 at 28.5 yards. So if I took off the receiving yards and put that on, I could do that, theoretically speaking. Let's see what the Jackson Smith and Jigba, it's at 1.9. So I'll just leave that one on because he's going to have over 94 yards. Luke McCaffrey's biggest catch, 16.5, not touching that. Kenneth Walker's, I could see them throwing a screen to him and that shit going for 17 yards. That's very enticing. That because they don't throw him the ball a ton. They don't throw him the ball, but when they do throw it to him, as you can see, he had 13, a 12, and a 29 in previous games this season. So they don't throw it to him a lot. And as you can see, the last 3 weeks, he hasn't had any real production as a pass catcher. But we're the team that will give that shit up. We are the team that would give it up. Ertz's longest reception, 15 yards, doesn't feel like that's the type of party it'll be for him. Bill, longest reception, 6.5. I could see them throwing Bill the ball out of the backfield in this game. I really can. Just as an extension of the run game. Torrey Horton, that's an intriguing one. He's definitely getting a chunk play on us. Debo's longest reception, 21 yards. That's a lot of yards. I could see Debo's longest catch being like 18, 19 yards. I don't know if I see 21 yards for Debo on a play. That's a bit much. I may regret that, but that feels like a bit much. It feels a bit rich. Arroyo and Barner are interesting. Arroyo's longest catch at 12.5. I like it. I don't like the 1.69 multiplier though. To me, it's not worth it. See with the longest rush here, if they got anything that intrigues. I don't think Bill's going to have a 12-yard run in this game against this Seattle defense. I could be wrong, and he could pop one, but it feels highly unlikely. Now, Kenneth Walker, on the other hand, all he's got to do is get to the perimeter against this defense, and he'll pop one for 15. So that one is interesting. Jaden for a 14.5-yard rush. I feel like he could escape the pocket and run for 17 on the play, but he could also have a steady diet of 7 and 8-yard runs. Nothing ever pops for more than 10, and he doesn't hit it. Seattle's an aggressive defense, though. They will come after him, and if he's able to escape, there will be a ton of running room for him. They're gonna be cautious with him. They're not going to, rush him in a reckless manner that will allow him to escape and pick up big yards. So I don't know if that's a good bet on this particular one because of the opponent. I think I'm going to stay away from this one altogether, even though I think Kenneth Walker, see what it does to the ticket. Yeah, I think that's going to be the last one that I do. That and Darnold's. I might as well throw Darnold's pass touchdowns up here on the to make it 8 and just max it out. And I'll go back and go over it. I may take some stuff off just to clean it up because I might be doing too much. But Darnold's going to throw for over. That brought it down. So yeah, I'm leaving Darnold off. That doesn't benefit me any. So now let's go in here and see if there's anything I need to take off that doesn't make enough sense to keep it on. So I've got JSN for 94 yards with a multiplier booster. Jaden for 1.5 pass touchdowns. I feel good there. Zach Charbonnet, anytime touchdown. That always feels good when Seattle's playing. Zach Ertz, anytime touchdown. It always feels good when Jaden's playing. Deebo Samuel, anytime touchdown. He's due for a touchdown. He hasn't scored since week 5. Last time, coincidentally enough, that Jaden was himself. Torrey Horton, 17.5 yards, so an 18-yard reception. He's an explosive guy that they like to get the ball to. I feel like I should take this one off. I really do. He's had a 21-yarder in a game and another 21-yarder, but they take deep shots to him too. I feel like I don't need this one. This one feels like the one that could get me got. So I'm going to take that one off. And then go Kenneth Walker, 13.5-yard rush. That's going to happen. He's going to pop one on the outside against us. If he doesn't, again, happiness hedge, that means we did a great job stopping the run. He's going to pop one on the outside on the edge against us. Like, there's no way it's not happening. Who's going to score the first touchdown in the game? None of these are available. I never do the first touchdown in the game. It's such a risky one. You hit it, it's big. You know I love receptions. Let's just check this out before we go. I don't like Jackson Smith and Jigba for 8 receptions, even though he's fully capable. He's done it each of the last 3 weeks, but he could easily have 6 catches in this game for 203 yards. Like, and they're all explosives, right? What's his long? Did they have him down for a longest catch? I didn't see him. Did I? Oh yeah, 28 yards, and it was blocked. Okay, never mind. Ertz for 4 catches. Horton for 3 catches, Deebo for 6 catches, Luke for 3 catches. If that was 1.5, I would take it. What's Luke's yards in this game? They probably went back up because remember I took Luke last week because they went back down. Then Luke had a good game and they might have gone back up to the 20s. Yep, they went right back up to the 20s. I'm not messing with that. I took advantage of it while it was on sale, pretty much. It wasn't like a booster or anything, but it felt like it was on sale because his numbers had come down. But he had 2 catches last week, and they put it right back up. I'm not messing with Lane. I'm not messing with Chris Moore. I'm not messing with Bill. I'm not messing with Jeremy McNichols, although I could see him having 3 catches. But if that's the case, I probably could have just took him for the yards. The 16.5. If you think he's going to have 3 catches, he probably going to have 16.5 yards. So 17 yards. Not messing with Luke on 3 catches. 2 catches, I would have taken Luke. Deebo for 6 and Ertz for 4. I'm not messing with Ertz. Deebo could definitely have 6 catches, though. Between a bunch of hitches and bubbles and then a couple of, deep over routes and things of that nature. Yeah, 8 against the Chargers, 6 against the Falcons, 7 against Green Bay, 7 against. It's got to be one of those games, right? It's got to be the Giants, Packers, Falcons, or Chargers game. He's got to have one of those games, and if he's got to have one of those games for us to win, and I think we're going to win, then let's take that. Let's see what that does to the count. It adds $60. It's not worth it. All right, so we're just going to roll with what we got. It adds $60 to the count. So we got JSN for 94 yards, Jaden Daniels for 1.5 pass touchdowns. Let's see if Darnold for 1.5 pass touchdowns brings it down now that I've taken off something else. See if it brings it down still. No, it pushed it up. I feel really safe taking him. It only pushed it up $20 though. It's not worth it. Just leave it alone. All right, so JSN, 94 yards. Jaden Daniels, 2 touchdowns passing. Zach Charbonnet, anytime touchdown. Let me see if Jackson Smith and Jigba. I didn't look at his anytime touchdown. Because I feel like he's going to score in this game too. Let me go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and take him. Let me see. Did that do anything? It actually made it go down. So doesn't make any sense to take him on an anytime because it made it go down. So again, we go back to we're done. So JSN 94 yards, Jaden Daniels 2 pass touchdowns, Zach Charbonnet anytime touchdown, Zach Ertz anytime touchdown, Deebo Samuel anytime touchdown, and Kenneth Walker a 14-yard rush. So VGK 0803 says Horton definitely getting a chunk play on this. It feels like it. It feels like. Let me go back to Horton and let me see what it did. I think it did it pushed us up to $500 and something. I really believe it did. It really feels like he getting a chunk play on us too. I agree. I think it was if it was 14 and a half, I'm gonna take it. I think it was 14. Oh, it's 18. 18 yards is a pretty significant play. I can see him getting that on this defense, though, honestly speaking. I'm going to leave it alone. I'm not going to second guess myself. I'm going to leave it alone. So that's the ticket, $311. I feel like I got too many touchdowns up here for $311. Feel like I should take one of these touchdowns off. But I can't because then it's really going to drag this thing down significantly. Let me see. You take Deebo off, and now it's just $160. You put him back on. And then if you take Ertz off, you add Deebo back on. But if you take Ertz off, it's even less. So, yeah, you got to keep these dudes up here for these anytimes. I think they're going to score anyway, so I don't feel bad about having them up here. Wonder if Cooper Kupp's playing. I think one of these tight ends are going to score. I really think it's going to be Barner who scores. We can't cover tight ends to save our damn life. I really think that A.J. Barner's going to score. Did Kelsey score last week? I don't think he did. It was Kareem Hunt twice. They only scored 4 touchdowns. Did Travis Kelce score last week? Let me find out. I'm about to find out right now. I think Rashee Rice scored last week. He definitely scored. Yeah, Kelce scored last week. Yeah, he sure did. All right, so yeah, I'm gonna add AJ Barner to this ticket, man. We can't cover tight ends to save our life. And I should take off one of our guys. Add AJ Barner to this thing. And take off Deebo. He don't have to score to be impactful. Feel like he's going to score this week, though. Again, if we're going to win, it feels like he's got to score. I'm leaving Ertz up here. Is when we get down there, that's who Jaden looking for. So I'm leaving Ertz up here. All right. I think we good. Let me see if adding Jackson Smith and Jigba now does anything. All right. I got a lot of touchdowns, man. You living dangerously. All right. I did all of this just to go back to my original ticket. Take him off, put Deebo back on, and we getting out of here. I'm not going to second guess myself. This is what I think is going to happen. I do think Jackson Smith and Jigba is going to score, but it's not worth it for an extra $30. So, and I do think Barner's going to score, but I'm not comfortable with 4 different touchdowns on my ticket. That's too many touchdowns. Even though I think they're going to happen, I'm just not comfortable with all those on my ticket. So in JSN for 94 yards, JD 5 for 2 pass touchdowns, Zach Charbonnet for an anytime touchdown. Let me see if I change that to a rushing touchdown. Is it more? 243. Oh, yeah. He's not catching the ball and running into the end zone. He's running it into the end zone. That's it right there. That's the ticket. Now the money looks right. Everything looks right. So Jackson Smith and Jigba, 94 yards. Jaden Daniels, 2 pass touchdowns. Kenneth Walker's longest run is 14 yards or more. Ertz, anytime touchdown. Debo, anytime touchdown. And Zach Charbonnet, a rush touchdown because he's going to run it in. He's not catching it and running into the end zone. And now you can win $480. That is the perfect ticket. This is going to punch for your boy. And if it doesn't, it means the Commander's more likely than not win the game. And again, even if it does, we can still win the game. But I digress. That, my friends, is the skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
The skill game brought to you by Sleeper.
All right. That one feels good. Comastel says take Ertz off. No, Ertz is gonna score. Ertz scores when Jaden's in the lineup. If Jaden's not in the lineup, then you take Ertz off of the ticket. Ertz has scored in each of the last 2 games that Jaden has played in. He scored against the Bears. He scored against the Cowboys. When Jaden is in the lineup, Ertz scores touchdowns for the most part. The only game that we've ever watched where Jaden didn't have this tremendous connection with Ertz was the Chargers game. For whatever reason, he threw it to him once, he didn't catch it, and Jaden never went back to him. But outside of that, I think he scored in week 1. I think he was the first touchdown of the season for us was Ertz from Jaden. He scored in week 2 against the Packers with Jaden. Then Jaden missed the next 3 games, 2 games. All right, Ertz didn't touch the end zone. I don't think he touched the end zone in any of those games without him. Maybe he did. I don't think he did. Then Jaden comes back in week 5, no touchdown for Ertz. And then they get right back to business in week 6 against Chicago. Ertz has, if I'm not mistaken, he might have had 2 touchdowns in that game. He had 1 for sure in the back of the end zone. Then he had another one against the Cowboys, the first touchdown of the game. And then he went kaput last week again because Jaden wasn't in the lineup. Jaden's back in the lineup. It could be Chargers game. I doubt it because you already see what it is. But if Debo's getting fed, maybe Ertz is the one that doesn't benefit from that. We'll see. But we get in the red zone. I know, and unlike that Chargers game where you had Bill to rely on in the red zone, so that took away the Zach Ertz options, Bill ain't getting busy in the red zone in this game against this defense. So you're going to have to throw it into the end zone, and that's going to allow Zach Ertz to be that target for Jaden like he always is. So I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Here, I got a super chat, so let me get that before we get out of here. Armchair Gynecologist, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, Burks reminds me a lot of Robert Meacham. Good number 3. I don't see Meacham. Here's why. And Meacham was in my Madden days, so I'm very well versed in Robert Meacham, who was a former Tennessee Vol before he was drafted by the New Orleans Saints. Meacham was a speedster. Go look up his 40 time. Robert Meacham could flat out fly. Treylon Burks is not Meacham was a sprinter. He could run. Treylon Burks is not Robert Meacham from a standpoint of even like body type. Meacham was a bigger receiver, probably like 210. I think Meacham might have been 205, somewhere in there. Like he wasn't skinny and frail. He wasn't 195, I don't think Robert Meacham was. I think he felt like he was like a 205-pound receiver, something like that, at like 6'2". So that is a little bit comparable. But, Burks is like 6'2", 220, man. I mean, let me check and see what they got him listed as on their website. I bet you it's got to be somewhere in that 215, 220 range. Treylon Burks, 6'2", 225. Okay, 6'2", 225. So Meacham wasn't that big. I'm gonna look up Robert Meacham now. You got me wanting to look up Meacham and his size. I think Meacham was like 6'2", 210. That's what I would guess. Robert Meacham, 6'2", 215. I knew he was kind of thicker on the thicker side of a receiver. He ran a 4.4 140, did Robert Meacham. Okay, so the two are not the same from that standpoint. But like the 6'2", 215, 6'2", 225, I see where you're going there. That's pretty comparable, right? Still, 225 is huge. Meacham wasn't that big, but I see where you're going with that. But let me check on Treylon Burks' speed. He strikes me as like a 4.55 guy. Let's see, Treylon Burks 40 time. I don't think he was a Blazer. 4.55, hit it right on the head. So yeah, that's the only reason I say it's not the same to me. They weren't the same type of receiver. Meacham did have some, possession type tendencies, but he could also stretch the football field vertically. One of the things that kept him in the league as long as it did was his ability to stretch the football field vertically. Treylon Burks isn't stretching the football field vertically. He can go up and get it. You give him a chance on a 50-50 ball, he might be able to go up and get it, but I just don't see him being an impactful guy from a vertical standpoint like Meacham was. So, but I think you might have been focusing more on like a good third option, and maybe he can be that. Maybe he can be a good third option. We could use one. Like Noah Brown doesn't exist right now. At some point, he may be back this season, but this is it for Noah Brown after this year. We need a Noah Brown replacement. What better guy? And maybe that's why they went out and got Treylon Burks, to be the Noah Brown replacement next year. But again, you're replacing Noah Brown, an injury-plagued wide receiver, with an injury-plagued wide receiver. You're replacing Noah Brown with a younger Noah Brown, except this one doesn't run as fast. But it's the same thing. And that's the part that a lot of people, including myself, struggle with, right? Glizzy McGuire, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, you seen that clip of Duran not knowing who JSN is? No, I haven't, but I mean, that makes sense, right? Like I told you, a lot of these guys don't watch football outside of the film that they have to watch in order to prepare for the game. Duran doesn't give a shit about Jackson Smith and Jigba. He's not covering him. He has no clue. Again, most of these guys don't watch football. They're not like Jaden, who's a football savant, who watches games and knows players, movements and tendencies and things of that nature. Deron Payne is watching offensive linemen. He's watching running backs. He's watching the quarterback. He's looking for tells from those guys. He could care less about what the tight end is doing, unless they're talking about a blocking assignment or a scheme that the Seahawks employ where the tight end is involved. He don't know what the skill position players are doing for the most part. He couldn't tell you who those guys are. But that's less about like Duran just not knowing, and that's just more about the position he plays. Like, I wouldn't be shocked if an offensive lineman didn't know the name of a opposing team's corner. Like if you ask Laramie Tunzel if you know who Devon Witherspoon is, and he's like, nah, I don't know who Witherspoon is. Who's that? Would you be surprised? He's not watching film on Devon Witherspoon. Now, he blitzes, so he may know who he is, but like it's the same concept is what I'm trying to get at. But I could imagine, and no, I haven't seen it yet. I told you I don't be on social media for real, so I haven't seen it. But if somebody send me that, then that's how I see stuff like this. A lot of times people send me stuff like that, but I haven't seen it. With Halloween and all the stuff that's been going on, I really haven't been on my mobile device all that much. So I haven't seen it, but I imagine it's funny because I can see Deron's face like, nah, who's that? I don't know who that is. I can see him, saying something like that. So anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up, take command. Also, the skill game brought to you by Sleeper. Once again, use my promo code LTN to get you 100% match on your first deposit up to $100. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. We will reconvene. You'll have all day. If there's one silver lining in us playing all of these primetime games and abnormal games that I've enjoyed thoroughly, and don't get used to this because clearly, like, first of all, with Jaden Daniels, he's still going to be must-see TV next year. So they won't be as aggressive as at how many times they put us on next year, but we will be on at least 4 times next year. It won't be like 9 like it is this year, where you're 2 Mondays, 2 Sundays, 2 Thursdays, or a Thursday, a Saturday, 2 Thursdays. I said that right because we play on Christmas. Like, it won't be that next year, right? But we'll still be on 4, maybe 5 times. It's still Jaden Daniels. All right. So just understand that this isn't going away. I saw a message from someone, a comment rather, on one of the videos that I posted here recently where they said, well, at least next year we'll have all noon games. And I'm like, that's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. We won't have as many of these games, right? These nighttime and, abnormal time slots that we have this year, but we will still have our fair share of Monday and Sunday night games, Thursdays, and all that good stuff. So, I do enjoy the ability to just watch games freely. So this is another week where we get to do this. Enjoy it. Enjoy it. Take it in. Take it in. I won't be able to watch a huge chunk of the games in 2 weeks when we go to Madrid. I'll be live with you guys during the 1 o'clock games, probably for the most part. If for not the entirety of it, most of the first half and probably the first 3 quarters of the 1 o'clock games. So I'm going to enjoy this. You should too. Anyway, I digress. Armchair gynecologist. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, we will play Seattle in the wild card. Mark my words. I don't anticipate us playing Seattle in the wild card unless you're assuming that we're home, that we win the division as the 4 seed and they're the 5 seed, which I could see happening because I don't anticipate Seattle winning their division, but I could see them being the number 1 wild card. And I could see a scenario where we don't have a better record than Seattle, but ultimately have the home game. I could see that happening. And them coming to us for a rematch. I can see that. But if you're referring to us being the wild card going to them, I don't see that. I don't see any way the Commanders, unless we just get extremely hot and end up winning, 11 games, then you're going to beat out some of these teams that don't win their division. But keep in mind, the NFC West is the division that gets to play the AFC South this year. So you're going to have 3 teams with about 11 or 12 wins out of that division, Seattle being one of them. The Rams and the 49ers potentially could all come out of that thing with 11 or 12 wins. Now, the 49ers just lost to the Texans. That's the one team in the Colts. They still have the Colts. And so you got to beat the Texans. They didn't. But the Texans aren't a bad team. They just weren't playing good football. We'll see. I'll just say that. We've already lost to Green Bay. They could not win their division. Detroit could win that division. We've already lost to Atlanta. They're not beating the Tampa Bay Buccaneers out for that division. But Atlanta might not be good enough when it's all said and done. We may not have to worry about them. But there are other teams that are going to be wild cards potentially that we may not be able to, jump ahead of. But all we can do is win, man. I've said this already. In order to start having those conversations, we got to drop the shovel, stop digging, and start climbing. So that has to start this weekend. You do that, and then we can start having those conversations about wild card, this and that. Right now, we shouldn't even be talking about the P word. That should be a sacred word again until we earn the right to start having those types of conversations. You'll hear more D words than P words. They're both forsaken for me right now. The D word and the P word. I got to stay away from both of them. This sounds like it's turning, X-rated all of a sudden. D word, P word. What's going on here? It's time to get out of here. That's what that means. The two words I'm referring to are draft and playoffs, just so we are clear about what I'm referring to here when I say the P word and the D word, okay? Yikes. This turned very quickly. It's time to go. Gynecologist, D word, P word, it's time to go. That's going to do it for me, your man, Louie T. I'll see you guys next time. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. You guys take care. Have a good one. Peace. Enjoy the football. Enjoy the football tomorrow. Peace.